Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And last time we spoke, guys, Bitcoin had dropped down into this zone here, was consolidating sideways in the zone between about 3,800, 3,600. It was sitting at around 3,750. What I was watching, guys, I told you guys I needed to see price stay above this 3,600 area as long as it stayed within this zone. I was okay. If we broke below, I'd start to get concerned. And of course, we had price drop back down, hit the bottom of this support zone here, right around 3,600. Went just a little slightly below it, but nothing too decisive. Basically, hit that support pretty solid, bounced sideways for about 12 hours or so, and then kind of took off above this zone. And we've broken out once again above our 3,800, what was acting as support here. Did not act as resistance. It was able to push right back up above, or excuse me, what was acting as resistance, was able to push right back up. And now, as of now, guys, it seems to be acting as slight support. Let's see if that does hold, or if it just kind of meanders back down to this zone. If it does meander back down into 3,800 to 3,600, guys, my opinion would be a rather bearish sign. Nothing too significant, just not too bullish at all, just kind of more of a just a neutral sign. So I'm really just continuing to watch 3,600 to see if that does hold. Why 3,600? Why this zone? Well, obviously we have this nice little support area that we've had marked off for quite some time, but also, as I showed you guys before, if we go swing low, swing high in this area, we can see that right below that 3,600. I told you before, I don't mind a wick down below here at all, but right below here we've got that we've got our golden pocket, that's 618, the golden ratio, the 618 fib level, which is where price basically bounced right on top of before taking off. In fact, if I get right in, if I move my level here to get right on these wicks. There we go. If I get right on them there, guys, we can see it literally bounced just right on top of that 618 fib level, that golden ratio. And then, of course, it took right back off. So that's the kind of bounce you would expect to see off that golden pocket, or excuse me, off that golden ratio, and that's exactly what we got. So now the question is, on this retest, which we're having that retest now, is resistance going to start acting as support? In other words, is 3,800 going to start acting as support? Now we're going to get another bounce as we did down here. So we'll have to watch and see if we do, guys. If we can break into this zone between 4120, 4,000, guys, at least break above 4,000. My opinion, that's going to be a rather bullish sign. But really, we need to break above decisively above this 4,100 resistance area. And by decisive, I'm talking about on the daily. And I showed you guys this last time as well. We're looking at this overall structure here, starting back here. If we go swing high, swing low, we can see why am I looking at that zone? Because that's the zone where that golden pocket is between the 618 fib level and the 6.5 fib level, which is again known as the golden pocket. We need to see price break above there. Why? Because once it does break above there, guys, typically you're trading against algorithms, and typically anytime you break above that golden pocket, algos tend to shift and they start picking targets up here. In other words, it shifts from kind of a retracement from a bearish downtrend, kind of a retrace and then a bounce and then a continuation of the downtrend. Algos kind of, once it breaks above that golden pocket, a lot of algos start to switch. They look at that as a recovery and they start saying, okay, the trend has, at least the temporary trend has changed. We're going to start to pick targets up here, anticipating price to continue to go up. So that's why I'm kind of watching that zone here, guys, very, very closely. Looking at overall volume, guys, overall volume's extremely, it's been really falling off in the last few days here. It's down to 4.8 billion. That's about where it was, a little higher than where it was before we had all this price movement, but still nothing significant at all. Very ripe for manipulation. The fact that volume is dropping off the board here while we had a little bit of an increase in price, and we look over at longs. Longs are slowly starting to stack, which means market makers may be wanting to wipe some of these longs out. It's never a good sign, typically, at least in this market so far. Typically, whenever we see price going up with long stacking along with price going up, and we don't see people taking profit, oftentimes those longs get wiped off the board in the form of price just collapsing and wiping them off there, and hitting those stop losses. Especially when we see shorts also falling off the board, because remember. for market makers to want to liquidate these positions, want to liquidate shorts. If shorts are rising, how do you liquidate a short position? Well, you drive price up. In this case, you see longs are rising. How are you going to liquidate those longs that are rising here? You're going to drive price back down. So again, not saying that's going to happen. If we look at the overall longs versus shorts, shorts are still outpacing longs overall. But again, it concerns me with the low volume, the increase in longs as price is going up. Just often that's a red flag for me. Oftentimes we see price come right back down. So again, we'll have to watch and wait and see. We aren't seeing any major significant movement at all, guys, so it may not be much. It's just kind of something to file in the back of your head and keep an eye on. Looking at the 4-hour chart, we hit the top of the Bollinger Bands. We'd expect a decent resistance there. Price came back down. Had a little bit of a break above this 50-day moving average. Price broke back down below it here. Found support right here on the 21-day exponential moving average. This is again though only on the 4-hour, so I only kind of take that with a grain of salt. When I come over here and I look at the daily chart, that's the one I'm most concerned with. And since we broke up above here, we haven't had a decisive break below that 21-day EMA on the daily chart. We can see that we broke below here, and then it broke right back above the day after. So we had a candle close, and we had a candle open, but we have not had a daily candle both open and close back below that 21-day EMA, and that's typically what signals a momentum shift, as I always tell you guys. That's just a very good signal of a momentum shift if that does happen. And we haven't had that happen yet, so the bulls are still fighting, even though the bears are fighting hard as well. So we're going to have to wait and see which side obviously prevails in this. So what I want to see is price break above this $4,120 zone, and I mean, looking at the daily, guys, I'm looking at the daily saying that I want to see at least a daily candle closing above this. We haven't had that yet. If we can get above a daily candle closing above that, guys, be a very bullish sign in my opinion. Really though, what we need to see in my opinion, for a longer term trend change, we need to break above 45.40. That's the top of this zone here. That's a decent supply zone. That's where we first created structure since price broke down from that $6,000 range. If we can break above that zone, break above, create a new high from this overall larger structure here, in my opinion, that'd be an extremely bullish sign. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen here, guys. Right now, I would not enter any trade whatsoever. I would just be watching this zone. If you feel brave, price comes back down, hits this 3,600, possibly entering a small scalp, trying to target 3,800, something like that. Very small scalp trade. I will be interested in entering a scalp trade when price comes back down into this zone. If, I should say, if, not when, but if price comes back down into this 3,400 to 3,250, at this point, I probably will enter a very small scalp trade targeting 3,600 here. I'm expecting a decent bounce, but I will have a very tight stop loss at about 3,200. Then knowing if we do break below this zone here decisively, we could quickly find ourselves at 3,000 or below very quickly. Zooming out on the weekly chart, guys, this kind of puts things into a lot better perspective. We can see, obviously, the price broke down here. And this little rise that we've had here, guys, this is just a blip on the radar on the weekly chart. Not much at all. Nothing real significant at all. So, in other words, we could see this could be just according to this is just a very small correction, and very likely we're going to continue that downtrend. Now, it doesn't mean that's going to happen, guys. I mean, this is a very relevant support down here at this $3,000 range. Now, we haven't hit it yet, but we've gotten very close. So certainly we could have bottomed out and should start up. But with that lack of volume, it doesn't bode well. I still believe that probability-wise, overall, even though we might get a temporary uptick here, possibly, I still think probability-wise, unless we get some massive influx in volume, is that we're still going to probably come back down to this $3,000 range at least, possibly even $2,500. Now, again, that's certainly not written in stone whatsoever, but keep an eye on volume. If volume remains low like this, as I always say, until we see volume consistently on a daily basis above 10 billion, you know that new money's not entering into this market. So the volume right now is just extremely weak. Overall, guys, as we look at the last few days here, we can see we had that major uptick. We had that 5.9, which was record volume, the highest buy volume we've had back on December 20th since I think May of 2018, and then it just kind of went downhill, slight uptick, and then right back downhill again. And of course, today we're sitting at very low volume relative to what it has been. So again, volume's looking low, guys. Little increase in longs, no real significant on shorts. Nothing really bullish looking at all. Looking at the weekly, you can see it's just a blip on the radar, this little rise here. So I would be kind of hands off, waiting for a major trend change, waiting for that volume to come in one direction rather, or waiting for price to drop and get her in and find yourself being able to enter into a much better price for Bitcoin. In my opinion, dropping down to 3,000, 2,500, that's a must buy in my opinion. Not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying if it does, that'd be a must buy. And again, if we break up above this zone here, if we can get Bitcoin breaking at least above just zoom back in on the daily, guys, so you can see it. So we can get Bitcoin at least breaking above this this golden pocket area here, at least above this 4120, but preferably getting into this order block right here, the top of which sits at about 4540. That would be an extremely bullish sign, guys, and I'll start to get a lot more excited if that does happen. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe, take care of yourselves. This is Working, signing out.